Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, today I'm going to share a project with you for Reverse Confetti. They've invited me to be a Fetty friend this month, and so today we're going to do a project using a floral stamp set. I do have the coordinating dies. The floral stamp set is called Bold Blooms. I think this has been in their shop for a while, but it's so pretty. It has a whole bunch of florals in here that you can mix and match and layer together. And then there's a few leaves in there that are different too. Now, to stamp my project today, I thought we would use oxide inks. I love the bright bold color of oxide inks. And then this is, like I said, you could layer your flowers together. So basically I took one layer, one solid background of a flower, and then one layer. So you'll need a lighter and a dark ink. So for my first flower, which is the largest flower I chose, I'm using spun sugar. I'm going to stamp that on some white cardstock. And you know what? I think it's best if I bring in my Misty for this. The backgrounds of the florals are solid images, and I think I can get a better impression with my Misty. So let's do a redo. I'm just going to flip my cardstock over. We're going to use the reverse side, and then we'll add our stamp right on top here, and we're going to do a redo. We'll pick it up, and then I'm going to add my spun sugar. Spun sugar is like a pale pink, so I'm going to stamp it a few times just to make it a little bit of a pink that you could see basically. So we'll stamp that, and I'm going to stamp on two different sheets of cardstock today, so you'll see me turning my panel around. We're going to stamp on each of the side of our panels. This way we have more flowers to create a full background. We're going to make a fun spring card today. So this panel is good. We're going to add one more. Now you're probably wondering how I stick my panels in my Misty. I use my tape runner, and I tape it down to my mouse pad. And then once that tape eventually gets icky, I'll clean off my mouse pad with a magic eraser, and then I'll add some more adhesive. So I've had a few questions on how I get my paper to stick, but at one point I did try pixie spray, but it didn't last very long. The tackiness didn't last very long, and cleaning it was kind of a booger. So, but yeah, I'm rambling. I'm stamping again. All of them were spun sugar. My second layer, I'm going to use a bright pink, which is picked raspberry. And you can see how pretty that second layer is. We're going to grab our first panel and do the same thing to that. And then there's a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes, and I think you can customize each one of these florals. But this one kind of looks like this is actually the leaf. There's quite a few leaves in here, and I chose one that was kind of rounded at the end. For this one, I'm going to use Shabby Shutters. We'll ink this up, and I'm going to do quite a few leaves, so I'm going to end up moving it around and doing an extra row, so we have lots of these green leaves. After I stamp my base leaf, I'm going to go in with my layer using peeled paint. It's like a nice olivey color. We'll stamp right on top a few times, and I'll just continue until all my second layer of the leaves are done. Okay, after this is done, we're going to go in with that tulip shaped flower. This one has a really pretty playful second layer, so I'll stamp this. For this one, I'm going to use fossilized amber distress oxide ink, and we're going to stamp this. I'll flip my panel around and then stamp it again, so we basically have 4 of these flowers, 2 on each panel here. For the second layer, we're going to add it right on top, and we're going to use an orangey color. I chose Spiced Marmalade, and we'll ink up our second layer. Now, as I did this, I thought maybe that the fossilized amber is just a little too dark. So we're going to do stamp that same flower base with Squeezed Lemonade. And then I'll go in with the second layer with the same Spiced Marmalade. I think the Squeezed Lemonade is, you can see the color difference here. It went from like a fall colored flower to a more springy yellow flower. We'll stamp this one more time, and then we'll add our second layer. And then the second layer too, it doesn't get drowned out with that darker yellow. Okay, we're going to finish up with our layer on top with spiced marmalade. Flip our panel around and do our last flower here, and then we're going to take another one of the flowers in the set, and I thought we'd use some purple inks. So this little rounded flower we're going to add and stamp with shaded lilac. My shaded lilac is on the bluer side. I might need to get a newer ink pad. I've had it for a while, but I'm going to add the center to this flower, and as new stamps, you know how they stick to your hands. I had to use my tweezer to adjust it in the center. But for my second layer on this flower, it's just a small dotted circle. I'm going to use my Dusty Concord for the center of this flower. And we'll continue all around. And then we're going to stamp one more flower, but we're going to use some blue inks. This is Tumbled Glass. I stamped that 4 times, and then for the second layer, we're going to brighten it up a little bit with Mermaid Lagoon. We'll just layer that on top, pick it up with the lid of my MISTI, and add Mermaid Lagoon right on top. And then so we have some bright flowers. Again, I'm not going to use the one with the fossilized amber, but if you can picture the yellows and the purples and the blues, I think it's a nice little spring bouquet. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my second layer on my second panel. We'll just stamp our last few flowers, and then I'm going to die cut. I'm going to go ahead and line up all the dies, and then I'm going to do all my die cutting at once. Just die cutting is very redundant, and I don't think you guys need to see that, but lining up the dies is very easy. I just line them and tape them down here. Since the basic shape is there, you could just follow along. Once everything is die cut, I think we have some nice fun flowers here. Okay, now before we jump in, I'm going to go ahead. I decided not to use my purple flowers here. They're very pretty, but I think I'm going to go with the pinks and the yellows and the blues for my color pattern today. Although those would be pretty, but I think I'm just going to go with 3 colors and the green leaves. I'm going to bring in a stamp set called U. It's coordinates. The confetti, it goes with the U confetti cut here. This is part of the new release. This is a 2-piece set. You have the outline, a larger outline, and then you have the U that goes right on top. I'll die cut out the smaller U with a pale gray cardstock, and then the outline of the U, the larger U, I'm going to die cut out with white cardstock. I thought grays would go really good because I'm basically going to keep my background white, and I wanted some gray in there just to stand out. I'm going to stamp the second part of my sentiment using the U coordinate stamp set. There's so many fun sentiments in here that coordinate with you. I chose the one that says you, well, it says are on my mind and in my heart. I think that's cute. And then earlier I had created a card. I didn't do a video on it, but I did do a blog post. If you guys want to go to my blog and check that out. It says, I created a card that said, you are such an amazing human. I created it when this release just went live, so. But I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive behind my pale gray U. And then for this card today, I wanted to do lots and lots of layers. So for my first layer, I'm going to go ahead and add just a few flowers and leaves directly behind this pale gray U. And then once I have my flowers added, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. I'm going to add foam adhesive behind here, and then we're going to pop it up and put it on our outline U. This way you have that white edged outline, but you have a layer in between. Okay, once I have foam tape added, I didn't glue this last piece too well, but once I secure it on my my white U here, it's gonna stick good. So there's one layer. Eventually I'm gonna flip over this whole U and we're gonna add another layer. But slippery fingers here, sorry. Okay, now I'm gonna bring in some panels. I want to create a background. I want to use white cardstock. So I have a small panel that is about 3/4 inches smaller than my card base. I'm going to adhere that to a slightly larger pale gray card base. It's the same gray that I used for my very top U. I just matted it on there. We're going to flip that panel over, and I did add foam, fun foam piece behind it. So all I have to do is remove the release paper and add that to my card base when we're all done. Now, I haven't tacked down my U just yet, but I do want to play around with my placement of the flowers first. These flowers are going to go popped up with foam adhesive also. So I'm going to take a foam square and just kind of tuck them underneath the U, kind of creating a little arrangement. Kind of filling in that entire background here. We're going to pop up the leaves as well, and then the little flowers too. Once I have everything in position, I'm going to go ahead and add foam adhesive behind that U and pop it up, and then we are good to go. I do have a flower and a leaf left over. We're going to take that and put that on the inside of our card base. Okay, we're going to take the rest of our sentences are on my mind and in my heart. We're going to go ahead and tape that down right on top of our U, kind of making sure it's centered. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my I tucked that one, but I didn't remove the release paper, so I had to go ahead and do that. But I love the bright colors. Nice springy card. I think it'd be great for Mother's Day or even just because card. My card base today is a standard A2 size card base, and we're going to create a landscape style card. So I just removed the release paper, and we're going to go ahead and add that to the center, and you can see how that gray kind of makes it stand out versus a plain white background. We're going to add adhesive behind these two pieces, the flower and the leaf, and just put them on the bottom right corner. If I have leftover pieces, this is what I like to do. I could have added the purple flowers, but I just didn't coordinate, so I didn't bother adding those. For bells and whistles, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to add some stickles. This is Diamond Stickles. It's a really pretty iridescent sparkle glitter glue. I'm going to add some to each one of the flowers. The large pink ones, I dotted the center. The blue ones, I'm just adding 3 lines. And then the yellow flowers have little dots on them, so I'm going to add little dots to the top of those flowers. But that's my project today for Reverse Confetti. I hope you enjoyed it. I love creating spring floral cards, and I think the stamp set, again, it's called Bold Blooms. It's perfect for that. If you want to see still shots, guys, head on over to my blog. I'll leave my blog link down below. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a fabulous day, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.